Chapter 9 of Management, an Integrated Approach. Managing Human Capital. Acquiring human capital in the right positions is critical to building a sustainable competitive advantage. Before recruiting a pool of qualified applicants, HR managers must work alongside company leadership to define and plan for their current and future talent needs. This entails both anticipating internal organizational needs and considering the impact of the external business environment. Clearly, the employees who are ideal for an organization like SAPIS, where customer service is key, may not be appropriate for another organization where this is less important. Managers must align HR practices with the company's stage of growth and its strategic objectives. A company may be in one of 5 stages of growth, and each stage is likely to have very different HR capital needs. Stage I, or Stage 1, is the initiation phase, when a company is characterized as highly entrepreneurial and informal. When a company enters Stage 2 or Stage 2, it reaches functional growth and is characterized by technical specialization and increased formality. 18. In Stage 3 or Stage 3, the company concentrates on controlled growth, develops more formal procedures, and increases its focus on professional management. It is in this stage that firms also begin to diversify their product lines. Stage IV or Stage 4 is characterized by functional integration, where a company develops multiple product groups or divisions and integrates various functional aspects like accounting and marketing to give divisions more autonomy. And finally, in Stage V or Stage 5, strategic integration, management focuses on flexibility, adaptability, and integration across business functions. HR management is most effective when it matches the stage of development of the company. In Stage I, employees are hired for their flexibility and willingness to do whatever it takes to get the job done. As the company matures, different skills take on more importance. For instance, during Stage IV, the company should seek employees who can engage in cross-functional planning and analysis, and who can see connections between different product and service offerings. Another way to think about this fit between a firm's strategy and its HR practices is in terms of some of the strategic frameworks we discussed earlier in the book. As we discussed in Chapter 5, the competitive strategy that a company pursues cost leadership, differentiation, or focus, influences the culture of an organization and the type of individuals who are most suited to that culture. 21. The cost leadership strategy is characterized by tight controls, low overhead, and economies of scale, and, as a result, HR practices should focus on cost-effectively increasing productivity. Such practices might include hiring part-time employees or subcontractors, providing flexibility in job assignments, or simplifying tasks to reduce training time. In companies pursuing a differentiation strategy focused on improving quality relative to competitors, HR practices should include constant feedback systems, collaboration across functions, and employee participation in decision-making and responsibility. With a focused innovation strategy, HR practices should allow for greater autonomy and room for experimentation as well as provide ample opportunities for development and training. If the organization is like SAPIS and believes that customer service is a key differentiator for them, then they need to hire service-oriented professionals. Human resource planning. Before hiring anyone, a company must consider internal resource needs and potential changes as well as the external business environment. Human resource planning is particularly important as firms expand into new regions both domestically and abroad. Planning is also important when firms decide to produce new products and services, deploy new technologies, acquire a company, or contemplate potential downsizing. Even if the company is not anticipating major organizational changes, HR departments must still plan how to meet current human capital needs. Target, for example, invests in planning to ensure that it is positioned to meet its potential growth needs. The company uses data such as employee turnover by position, month, and department as well as future business projections to determine specific hiring requirements. For some critical positions such as business analysts, Target hires and trains employees well in advance of actual openings. This allows the new employees to be in a position to add value at the right moment. Target also expects its team leaders and managers to develop their bench strength. At any point in time, managers at Target should have 1 or 2 direct reports who are being groomed for their positions. This allows vacancies to be filled with speed and conviction. 23. Successful HR planning, like the approach used at Target, requires job analysis. which is the process of analyzing information about specific job tasks in order to provide a more precise job description and define the characteristics of the ideal candidate for the position. Job analysis can be conducted in a number of ways, including interviews with management and current job holders, observations in the workplace, and self-administered questionnaires. 24. The absence of an accurate job analysis can lead to problems such as increased recruiting costs, inequities among employees, inadequate job preparation, and wasted training resources. 25. Having assessed a firm's resource needs, a HR manager can then turn his or her attention to the competitive landscape in order to benchmark its compensation and benefits offerings. Most positions are compensated based on the required combination of education, experience, and potential talent expected to perform a particular job. Firms often set compensation levels based on an external analysis of comparable positions in the marketplace. If a firm chooses to hire a worker from a competitor or another firm, it should expect to offer compensation that meets or exceeds the worker's current level. We address additional details about compensation and benefits later in this chapter. An assessment of the business environment is also important in understanding the availability of workers with specific skill levels. For example, during recessions, there are more unemployed workers, so it may be easier to find appropriate workers for open positions, but this does not always translate into successful hiring. In the last recession, 2008 to 2009, many workers were unemployed, but many of them were low-skilled workers with little or no college education. While the peak unemployment rate for college-educated workers in the United States was 5.0%, the peak unemployment rate for high school graduates was 11.1%, and the peak unemployment rate for those with less than a high school diploma was 15.6%. 26. Firms that seek to hire specific skill levels may still find it difficult to find qualified individuals even during tough economic times. Recruiting talent. Once HR managers have discussed anticipated internal changes with the company's leadership, considered how external factors will impact their hiring, done a careful job analysis, developed job descriptions, and determined the desired characteristics in job candidates, it is time to recruit a pool of applicants. Recruiting can take place both internally and externally. Internal recruitment involves choosing qualified applicants for a position from workers currently at the firm, while external recruitment involves finding qualified applicants anywhere else. There are several benefits of hiring internally. First, internal candidates know the company's culture, background, and products, which often allow them to make a quicker and more meaningful impact in the new role. In addition, by hiring internal candidates, the company demonstrates that employees have access to a potential career path that allows for growth and development. The presence of a career path is helpful in attracting high-quality candidates who hope to stay at a company for a significant period of time. Finally, by hiring internally, companies know much more about the skills and potential of the candidate for the position. This knowledge allows the company to be more proactive in properly supporting the individual's transition to the new role. Nordstrom, a company that has been consistently named one of the 100 best companies to work for, has sustained its reputation for high-end customer service in part by recruiting and developing managers from within its employee base. Promising new sales clerks are often promoted within 1 year, and the ones with the greatest potential are invited to participate in the company's 6-month job rotation training program. 27. Another firm that is especially successful at internal recruiting is General Electric GE. 28. They focus on providing jobs that foster talent so that employees will be prepared to take on leadership roles after working a number of years at the firm. To that end, GE has a number of internship and job rotation programs that allow new employees to experience different functions in the firm. These programs provide new employees with broad exposure to GE as well as provide GE with a fuller sense of the employee's capabilities and skills. This knowledge is used to help place individuals into permanent positions that are aligned with their skills and the needs of the company. HR managers sometimes seek external applicants who went to specific universities or worked at certain firms. In this process, they will sometimes leverage HR consulting firms, online job boards, and trade shows. Some firms are even using mobile applications to enhance their recruiting efforts. PepsiCo, for instance, realized that many job seekers used their phone to search for new positions while standing in a line, waiting at a restaurant, or watching a sporting event. The company is going a step further by creating the capability for job seekers to not only search but to also apply for jobs using their phone. 29 There are advantages and disadvantages to hiring externally. If the worker is already employed elsewhere, the firm may have to offer higher compensation than planned to encourage the worker to leave his or her current job. If higher compensation is offered, this can lead to equity issues within the firm if employees of similar skill levels are at a lower rate than the newly recruited employee. 30 In fact, recent research shows that workers hired externally are paid 18% more than those in the same job who were hired internally. The extra pay does not always result in better performance. One study noted that workers hired externally had worse job performance marks and were 61% more likely to be fired than internal hires. 31 Despite some of the issues with hiring externally, many firms have no choice, especially when they need to fill critical new roles in the company. Paul English, founder and CEO of Kayak, an online aggregator of travel information, believes in hiring great people wherever and whenever he can, even if there is no immediate job opening. Commenting on his appetite for recruiting, English said, "I am pretty obsessed with recruiting. The joke at Kayak is if we have a business trip out to San Francisco, when the plane lands, my colleagues will say, 'How many people did you hire on this flight?' 32 When a promising candidate is identified, English tries to close the deal in 7 days, regardless of whether or not there is an open position. For English, finding key talent is a critical strategic objective for Kayak. 33 The company's growth is predicated on its ability to build a pipeline of capable technology specialists. Many employers find new talent through referrals by existing employees. In this way, the company is able to mitigate some of the unknowns from hiring externally. For instance, the existing employee can act as a primary reference point for the company. Since the employee knows the company well, he or she is also in a better position to describe the actual nature of the position and the company culture to the prospective applicant. In essence, this type of description is called a realistic job preview (RJP). An RJP is the process of providing information to job candidates, which highlights the most important conditions of a job, including its positive and negative aspects. 34 Traditional job descriptions generally do not include the negative aspects of the position, although it may seem strange that a recruiter would reveal the unappealing aspects of a job to a potential candidate. RJPs have been shown to decrease turnover. 35 In essence, job candidates obtain a more comprehensive understanding of the expectations and nature of the position before they make a formal commitment. The firm must also consider that in some cases RIPs can lead to a smaller pool of applicants if the negative aspects of the position discourage some individuals from continuing in the recruiting process. Once the HR managers have recruited a pool of applicants and informed them of both the positive and negative aspects of the job, the next task is to select the best candidates. Selecting talent. Today's companies utilize a wide variety of information to select the best job candidates. The process is similar to the process universities and colleges use to select students. In college admissions, schools collect a variety of both quantitative data such as test scores and grades and qualitative information such as recommendations, lists of activities and achievements, and notes from interviews with alumni and school representatives. Companies also collect a variety of quantitative and qualitative information from their job candidates. This may include results from cognitive ability and personality tests, college GPA, standardized test scores, basic background information provided by the candidate, and information gathered from interviews and references. Companies are also beginning to use social media to learn more about potential new hires. While it is not without controversy, some employers even ask prospective employees to provide them with their password to Facebook. Seeing how applicants present themselves in a social setting can be very informative to employers, especially those that espouse a certain set of values and expect employees to adhere to them. Since most job applications include a broad array of information, it can be a formidable task for companies to sort through it all and find the best candidates to screen for an interview. This problem has become worse in recent years since online job boards have made it easier to find jobs and apply for them, leading to very large numbers of applicants. Many firms sort through resumes to look for key information and then pick a few candidates that stand out. Other firms add another layer to the application process and utilize ability tests to sort through all of the job applications. Some researchers believe that ability tests have a better track record than sorting through resumes for predicting future performance. Ability tests usually consist of a series of both quantitative and qualitative problems that must be completed in a set period of time. These tests provide the employer with a standard measure of performance for each candidate, which can be beneficial when faced with a diverse applicant pool. Although ability tests are quite common for low and medium-skilled jobs, they are rarely used in selecting candidates for senior positions within a company. In a similar way, employees also evaluate companies. They use websites such as Glassdoor.com to assess a potential employer. This website includes information about pay rates as well as ratings of managers by current employees. While reviewing a candidate's past work history is important, situational interviews tend to provide a better predictor of future behavior. A situational interview is an interview in which a candidate is asked to explain how he or she would respond in various scenarios that are likely to occur on the job. Situational interviews allow the company to better understand how a candidate uses his or her analytical skills to dissect the situation and present a series of possible action steps. In some situations, the candidate will be able to draw upon previous experience, but in many cases, he or she will be asked about a completely novel situation. Situational interviews are very commonly used for on-campus interviews where students have limited work experience. The final stage in the selection process often tends to be reference checks. While most employers contact the 3 or 4 references that are typically supplied by the job candidate, some firms go further by trying to contact former colleagues to vet a prospect. The more senior the position, the more references are checked. A key question in the reference check process is usually, would you hire this individual again? If there is even a slight pause in the response, the employer will often think twice about making a potential job offer. Once the interviews have taken place, the various interviewers often meet to discuss the candidates, making sure to focus on specific characteristics that are pertinent to the position. Although it is ideal if all of the interviewers agree on the best candidate for the job, the immediate supervisor is usually given the final say in hiring decisions, since he or she will be working most closely with the candidate. A different view. Looking for the right hire. More and more firms are turning to personality tests to identify potential new hires. Xerox, for example, has abandoned its previous approach of hiring new call center employees based on prior experience. Instead, the company relies on a personality test that assesses a candidate's creativity and curiosity. Xerox found that employees who were more inquisitive were more likely to stay at the company at least long enough for the firm to recoup its $5,000 investment in new employee training. Instead of asking candidates about past experiences, Xerox's personality test asks candidates to choose between statements like, "I ask more questions than most people do, and people tend to trust what I say." 38 Xerox is working with the start-up Evolve to design its employment test. Through its data modeling activities, Evolve has found that the ideal Xerox call center employee is someone who lives near the job, has reliable transportation, and uses 1 or more social networks, but not more than 4. 39 While tests, such as this one, can help companies to lower employee turnover, they can also open the company up to more potential lawsuits, especially if the data modeling seems to systematically discriminate against a certain type of individual. In these cases, a company needs to demonstrate that the criteria are proven to predict success in the job. Managing human capital. Once a company has acquired its human capital, it must focus on managing it. While this entire section of the book is dedicated to managing others, in this chapter, we focus on the specific aspects of management that deal with employee development and employee transitions. Managing human capital is ultimately about putting people in the best position to help a company by giving them what they need, whether it is compensation or skills to perform their job well. First, we discuss how companies develop and train their talent. When employees first arrive, companies spend considerable time and money bringing them up to speed and giving them the skills to perform their specific jobs. Zappos, for instance, requires all new hires to complete 4 weeks of training, including spending a substantial amount of time on the phone with customers. This interaction allows new Zappos employees to better understand what is important to customers and, ultimately, to the performance of the company as a whole. Employee development does not stop with the initial training processes. Formal and informal feedback is used to encourage or discourage certain behaviors. In the following section, we will discuss how companies provide feedback, including the use of performance appraisals, to support and guide employee behavior. Training and developing employees. For a long time, employee training mostly consisted of on-the-job training, where employees learned how to perform a specific task, and then they were evaluated on how well they did that task. In today's environment, ongoing development is crucial to keeping employees up to date on the latest skills and technological innovations. The investment in training programs is also a long-term investment in the company as a whole, as it helps to build skills and capabilities for the future. Organizations train employees for a variety of reasons, including the need to orient them on business practices, to teach them skills with a new piece of equipment, or to educate them on new product or service offerings. For the training to be effective, it must fit internally with the structure and culture of the organization, and externally with the strategic competitive landscape. Before an organization invests in training, however, it should understand what type of training needs to be done, and who is best positioned to deliver it. This is referred to as a needs assessment. 44. Unfortunately, many companies do not regularly assess their training needs. They often react to the environment or follow another company's lead. One survey found that only 27% of organizations assess training needs systematically. 45 managers can use a series of steps to determine how to best proceed with training. First, managers should be clear about their goals for training, and those goals should be informed by the strategy of the organization. Second, managers should identify the organization's training needs and determine the appropriate audience for those needs. The identification of training needs can come from a gap assessment, whereby the HR function conducts an audit of the current skill set in the organization and compares that skill set to the future needs of the organization. For instance, if a company is launching a new product line that requires a particular type of customer support, the training should be designed to address this support. Once training needs and target audiences have been determined, managers, in conjunction with HR professionals, can design the training curriculum, deliver it to employees, and assess its effectiveness. The assessment of the effectiveness of the training is usually apparent in the manner in which employees apply, or do not apply, the new skills. As with any intervention, it is useful to evaluate the overall outcomes of the program to determine possible improvements to the training experience. Types of training. There can be as many types of trainings as there are job functions in an organization, but most training is typically focused on helping new employees get acquainted with the processes and procedures of the organization. In addition, many organizations conduct training programs that are focused on employee development, legal compliance, or safety. Table 9.3 provides a list of various types of training used in companies with more than 100 employees, along with the percentage of companies that use them. While this list is extensive, not all employees in an organization, and not all organizations, will use them. It is important to consult the company's strategy to decide which trainings are relevant. For example, the R&D division of the company may benefit from training on creativity and computer programming, but not necessarily on purchasing. On the other hand, the entire company may need to undergo diversity training or sexual harassment training to mitigate any potential legal issues in the future. While training topics vary widely, the methods by which employees are trained are more limited. They can be divided into formal and informal training. The most common formal training is on-the-job training, which is conducted on the work site, and often led by an employee's supervisor, plus for certain positions, especially those that require adherence to specific regulations such as heavy equipment operation or the use of dangerous materials, tests are often administered to confirm employee knowledge and compliance. 49. Formal training can also be done off the job, such as at a facility that is specifically designed to teach certain skills. So, for example, the airline industry has long used simulators to train pilots, and NASA has developed a virtual control tower that can simulate day or night at any airport in the world, any weather pattern, and the movement of up to 200 aircraft. 51. Formal education programs are another example of off-the-job training. Many companies team up with community colleges and universities to provide specially tailored corporate education that supports their specific training agenda. $2. Other companies go even further and create their very own private universities. One example is McDonald's Hamburger University, where employees can learn about the specific operations of the McDonald's franchise. 53. Boeing and GE also have their own training campuses and use a combination of internal and external resources to deliver targeted programs to their employees. Although formal training can be valuable to an employee's learning, informal training can often be much more effective. Informal training may include coaching or mentorship, by which employees get matched up with a more experienced member in their field or department. In the best cases, these relationships become valuable resources for employees to develop their understanding of the company and their skills. As we will see in Chapter 20, these relationships can also be a vital part of an individual's network. A key challenge for a company is to assess the value and impact of various training programs. This assessment is generally easier for specific skill-based training of repetitive or safety tasks, where employees are expected to adhere to a set of rules or guidelines. In this case, the company can administer a test to assess the competency levels of new employees. In other cases, assessing the impact of the training can be more difficult. This is especially true for training that is focused on broader areas of leadership or management development. Training is typically focused on the acquisition of specific skills, tasks, or knowledge. While personal development often includes training on specific skills, it encompasses much more. Development is a long-term process designed to build greater self-awareness, enhance managerial capabilities, and enable an individual to reach his or her potential. A developmental plan for a high-potential employee may include a roadmap for achieving a higher level within the company. This roadmap or development plan could include a leadership assessment to enhance self-awareness, a job rotation program to experience multiple areas of the firm, or formal class sessions to build specific leadership competencies. Focusing on personal development has become a more valuable practice for employers because it attracts higher quality employees and keeps them more engaged in the company. Employee development initiatives are most effective when the organization's needs are aligned with the individual's career needs. To ensure alignment, one must have a strong understanding of the company's strategy as well as a strong understanding of an individual's capabilities, skills, and aspirations. With this understanding, the HR department can work with managers to find developmental opportunities that are challenging, match individual interests, and support the overall direction of the company. A crucial part of employee development is providing feedback. Feedback and performance reviews. There are many ways to conduct feedback, but the method that is by far the most popular in Fortune 1000 companies is 360-degree feedback, a system that enables employees to conduct a self-assessment and then compare their responses to others. With this approach, employees receive feedback from their superiors, the only source in a traditional system, their peers, their subordinates, and, in some cases, even their customers or clients. $7. The origins of 360-degree feedback can be traced to the human relations movement of the 1950s and 1960s, but it gained traction and popularity in the last 2 decades as organizational hierarchies have flattened, work has become increasingly cross-functional, and employees have become more empowered. Singapore dollars. The process of soliciting feedback from others generally includes a web-based survey or questionnaire that asks respondents to rate or evaluate an individual on various competencies that are important to the organization. Some of these competencies may include managing and developing teams, interpersonal skills, communication abilities, and strategic management. In most cases, 360-degree feedback respondents are selected by the individual employee and his or her manager. There are numerous advantages to using the 360-degree feedback system. First, it includes a component of self-assessment, which has been shown to help individuals with career planning and decision-making, but pure self-assessment can lead to unrealistically high ratings. This brings us to the second benefit of 360-degree feedback, a more realistic view of the employee's skills, capabilities, and behaviors. 59. It's easy to paint your own actions in the most glowing terms, so it's important to compare your views to the anonymous feedback from those who work closely with you. 63rd, 360-degree feedback is an effective tool in the leadership development process since it identifies potential areas for improvement. 1. In some cases, 360-degree feedback has been so effective that companies also use it for performance appraisals. That is, they use the feedback to evaluate an employee's merit and use it to make decisions regarding promotions or raises. This practice has exposed some drawbacks of the 360-degree feedback tool. For example, one study has shown that up to 35% of raters change their ratings when 360-degree feedback is used for evaluation, and pay. 63 Some raters report holding back because they don't want to penalize their coworker. Even worse, deals may be struck among employees to provide artificially high ratings for each other. Conversely, raters may provide particularly harsh criticism in response to poor leadership or to get back at a coworker for some perceived or alleged transgression. 66 Because of the drawbacks to 360-degree feedback, it is best used for developmental discussions, not to determine raises or other matters relating to compensation. In this way, the supervisor and the employee can have a productive conversation that celebrates an individual's strengths and highlights some opportunities for improvement. Given the time and effort to conduct 360-degree feedback, companies generally only engage in this form of feedback on an annual or biannual basis. In the interim, more and more companies are focusing on real-time opportunities for feedback provided by immediate managers. High-potential employees, in particular, crave ongoing feedback about their performance and potential in the company. 7 By providing quick, actionable feedback, employees are in a much better position to accentuate what they do well and address their developmental weaknesses in a timely fashion. Performance appraisal. While 360 feedback is useful for developing and mentoring employees, formal performance appraisals are used to assess and measure an employee's performance over a certain period of time, generally 1 year. Specifically, performance appraisal is the identification, measurement, and management of individual performance in organizations. It usually takes the form of a formal process in which an employee meets with his or her immediate manager and discusses his or her performance over the past year while also outlining expectations for the following year. The subject of the discussion for this meeting is usually a formal performance assessment form that is being completed by both the manager and the employee. One tool that can be used in performance appraisals is Management by Objectives, MBO. MBO derives its content from scientific management, one of the earliest theories on organizational control. MBO is the process of managing employees by outlining a series of specific objectives or milestones that they are expected to meet in a defined time period. 68 The main components of MBO are derived from goal setting and participation in decision making. 69 Goal setting involves defining objectives or targets for individual or firm performance. Quantitative measurements should be used whenever possible, because they clearly define the expectations of employees and communicate the most important objectives of an organization. 7 Because goal setting is the most direct and simplest way to motivate employees, managers must be aware of its drawback. Setting goals in one area can lead to neglect of performance in other areas. For simple tasks, managers should choose specific and measurable goals because they show employees that plans have substance and specificity. 72 But for more complex tasks, do your best goals are often more appropriate. 73 Employees must accept goals in principle to be motivated to work toward them. To that end, goals must seem fair, challenging, and legitimate. See Figure 9.1.74. When goals are slightly beyond employees' expectations, employees will work hard to achieve them. But if goals are too difficult, they can become detrimental to morale. 7s If goals are too easy, employees reach their target, become satisfied, and often stop trying to improve their performance. 76 Goal setting, driven by senior leaders at the top of the organization, is common in many companies and is a reflection of 20th century style management. In this style, senior managers set budgets and performance targets for lower levels of the organization, expecting them to fully accept and comply with the numbers. While top-down management is effective in times of crisis, it rarely works in most situations and often leads to a lack of commitment. 78 Instead, a bottom-up approach generates commitment by using employee knowledge about how to get things done, where opportunities lie, and which weaknesses to address. 79 When employees have an opportunity to share their opinions and expertise, they are more likely to be actively engaged in the achievement of specific goals. Reward systems. Performance appraisals are used to evaluate past performance and to determine potential salary increases and bonus opportunities. Compensation plans and reward systems are an integral part of the ongoing employee relationship. So how do companies compensate their employees? While there are many variations of compensation, the baseline is structured as either an hourly wage, assigned to most low-level positions in an organization, or a salaried wage, assigned to higher-level supervisory or management level positions in the organization. Beyond this basic structure, Many jobs also include a bonus potential. Some jobs are almost entirely based on a bonus structure, for example, commission-based sales positions. Other forms of compensation include group-based pay structures and benefits. Another common form of compensation is stock options. Sometimes individuals are willing to take less pay in exchange for a certain number of stock options. For the most part, salary is determined on an individual level, while bonuses can be determined by the achievement of both individual and group-based goals. Compensation. A common form of individual compensation is job-based pay, which means that pay is attached to a particular job. The only way to increase pay is to switch jobs. These pay policies are usually mechanistic, predetermined, and standardized. They are most often used in hierarchical organizations where job tasks are narrowly defined and managers closely monitor behavior. 81 An example would be a customer service call center where employees are monitored closely through phone recordings. In this type of scenario, rewards may be tied to how many calls an individual successfully handles during his or her shift. Job-based pay systems are most suited for companies that pursue cost leadership strategies. 82 A second common form of individual compensation is skill-based pay, where an individual's compensation is determined by his or her personal skills and knowledge, not by the specific job. In these cases, compensation is tied to the skills, experience, knowledge, and insights that an individual brings to a company. Skill-based compensation systems are most appropriate for organizations with lower hierarchical structures, more decentralized authority, and a high degree of ambiguity. 83 These types of environments often require an individual to use his or her personal judgment to make a decision. To encourage greater teamwork and collaboration, firms often use group-based pay systems such as gain sharing or profit sharing to supplement an employee's compensation package. Both are similar in that they reward group performance and seek to improve productivity by aligning interests between the organization and a group of employees. $1 advantage of using these team-based pay approaches is that they can be fully customized to a particular division, department, or team. Gain sharing rewards teams based on the achievement of certain metrics associated with productivity, efficiency, or quality. 8S The metrics used to calculate gain sharing rewards tend to be somewhat complicated and are generally specific to a team or a department. As such, several different metrics tend to be used within a single organization. Profit sharing programs do exactly that, share rewards based on improving the profitability of the group. $6 Profit sharing programs are generally easier to measure and monitor. Like individual-based pay systems, group-based pay can have advantages and disadvantages. Gain-sharing programs allow managers to modify their targets and formulas as production evolves. $7 Additionally, group-based systems provide a layer of protection to employees that can free them to take more risks and be more innovative. 88 Being a member of a group can provide a strong performance incentive, especially when all members are contributing their best. However, instead of creating employee freedom, group-based pay systems can also lead to a diffusion of responsibility, because no individual employee is ultimately responsible for results. Consequently, some members of the group may not contribute their fair share, yet still receive the benefits of the overall team. This can lead to heightened tensions in the team if it is not properly addressed. In some cases, the overall performance of the group regresses to the average ability of the group, not to its highest ideal. When this happens, the group is less likely to benefit from the group compensation structure. Furthermore, shirked responsibility can alienate star performers, and they may be more inclined to look for another job. Benefits. Benefits are another form of compensation, and they can include health coverage such as medical, dental, and disability, as well as long-term planning programs such as life insurance and retirement accounts. A recent survey of over 6,000 American workers demonstrated the importance of benefits. More than 70% of the respondents said that a company's benefits package would influence the decision to look for a new opportunity, and 61% commented that they would consider a slightly lower salary in exchange for a strong benefits package. Many companies include the costs of benefits when they outline an individual employee's total compensation package. In some cases, the company can pay upwards of 30% of an employee's salary toward benefits. See Table 9.4. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Private industry employers spent an average of $30.32 for employee compensation in September 2014, of which $9.16, or 30.2%, was attributed to the costs of benefits. The largest cost component of these benefits was for health care coverage. Many positions offer retirement plans or pensions, which help to ease the financial transition to not working. For example, public service professions such as firefighters and policemen receive a pension that grows in relation to their number of years of service. For public sector employers, the cost of these retirement plans can be quite significant and are often borne by the state and local governments. Private sector workers may also receive retirement benefits in the form of 401(k) savings plans. In some cases, companies contribute to these savings plans, but generally most of the contribution comes from employees. The most popular way for companies to offer benefits to employees is through the use of cafeteria plans. A cafeteria plan is an arrangement that allows employees to make their own choices from a wide array of benefit options. Employees can choose between taxable benefits such as retirement savings and non-taxable benefits such as health coverage. Cafeteria plans can dramatically reduce the costs of providing benefits because they allow individual employees to select what is most important to them. In this way, the company and the employee do not have to pay for benefits that do not provide value. Placing selection in the hands of employees through automated benefit selection programs has also helped to significantly reduce the administrative costs and burden on HR departments. Different generations in the workforce place different levels of emphasis on compensation and benefits. For some, compensation is a key motivator, while others are driven by interesting and diverse work assignments. Managing a multi-generational workforce, many of today's organizations include at least 3 and sometimes 4 generations in the workforce. 1. Baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, 2. Generation X, born between 1965 and 1978, 3. Generation Y, also called millennials, born between 1979 and 1994, and 4. Regeneration, Regens, born after 1994. Generational groups are said to share similar historical or social life experiences, and these experiences shape their perceptions of the world. For instance, baby boomers were impacted by the Vietnam War, civil rights, Watergate, and the sexual revolution. On the other hand, millennials are the first generation to be born into a fully wired world that impacts the way in which they interact at home and at work. Regens have been shaped by the 9/11 attacks, Hurricane Katrina, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the proliferation of social media, and the impact of the post-2008 recession. Effective organizations are able to tap into the unique qualities and skills that each group provides. The challenge of leadership is that the motivational drivers of each group are not always consistent, and these drivers tend to change as a person gains more experience. For instance, recognition is a motivational driver that is generally considered universal, but the form of recognition that is valued by each generation can be different. One recent study found that Generation X employees are more motivated by financial rewards and job security, while baby boomers and Generation Y employees valued job flexibility and the opportunity to give back to society. This motivational difference may be attributable to the fact that baby boomers and Gen Ys tend to be at a stage in their careers where they can experiment more at either the late or early stage of their careers. Gen Xers, alternatively, are entering the peak of their careers and tend to value stability and financial security. Having experienced rapid technological change, significant layoffs, and massive organizational restructuring in the late 1990s, Gen Xers tend to be more individualistic than other groups. On average, they also tend to be less loyal to their organizations. Interestingly, a study of what motivates baby boomers and Gen Ys indicated that these groups have much in common. See Figure 9.2. When asked what they value as much or more than compensation, many of the motivational drivers overlapped between baby boomers and Gen Ys, including high-quality colleagues, flexibility, recognition, and challenge. The primary differences seem to involve life stage issues. Baby boomers seek greater autonomy and stimulation, while Gen Ys seek career advancement. For managers, the information is striking. Both groups value aspects other than compensation as key motivators. In 2008, UBS tapped into this sentiment for Generation Y by offering new hires the opportunity to pursue a gap year before joining the organization. Recent college graduates were offered the opportunity to defer their offer to UBS to pursue a socially responsible initiative such as teaching English as a second language, rebuilding homes devastated by natural disasters, or supporting microfinance entrepreneurship in developing economies. During this sabbatical year, the company provided a stipend for health insurance, and one-half the new high's base salary. At the other end of the spectrum, CVS has initiated a program for some of their senior workforce that relocates from south to north in the summer and north to south in the winter. Employees can transfer their position from one store to another without losing seniority or benefits. Both organizations have pursued creative ways to tap into the preferences and motivations of key employee groups. Flexible work options. Because different generations in the workforce prefer to balance professional and personal goals, organizations have sought creative ways to structure the work environment. For some employees, working a typical 8-hour day or one that encourages overtime is a demotivator. For these employees, opportunities to participate in alternative work arrangements that provide greater flexibility in how and when they work can be more motivating. 100 Some of the most popular alternative work arrangements are variable work schedules, flexible work schedules, job sharing, and telecommuting. 101 IBM has been using technology for years to support employees who choose to use flexible work options. After creating a global work-life flexibility project office, IBM has increased offers for compressed work weeks, individualized work schedules, telecommunication work, part-time reduced work schedules, and the opportunity to work from home. By 2011, more than 160,000 employees had engaged in some form of flexible work arrangement, which enabled the company to save over $100 million in real estate costs. Variable work schedules. Traditional work schedules that start at 9 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. 5 days a week can make it difficult for employees to attend to routine personal business, for example, doctor appointments and parent-teacher conferences. To address this, a variable work schedule that includes working 10-hour days for 4 days or working more than 8 hours for 4 days, and less than 8 hours on a 5th day might be appropriate. At Hewlett-Packard, field technicians need to be on call to respond to customer problems 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To satisfy this need, some employees volunteer to work 3 12-hour shifts on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, followed by a 4-hour shift on Monday. The rest of the employees work regular 8-hour shifts during the week. Flexible work schedules. Like variable work schedules, flexible work schedules can affect the times that employees begin and end work each day. Yet unlike varied work schedules, flexible work schedules are less structured and give employees more control over their work times. Usually, flexible work schedules account for flexible time and core time. During core time, employees must be at their workstation, but during flexible time, they can choose their own schedule. For example, employees can start work early and leave in the middle of the afternoon, start late morning, and work until late afternoon, or start early in the morning, take a long lunch break, and work until late afternoon. 104 To retain their mid-career and mature workers, Home Depot allows its employees to participate in flexible work schedules. This attracts long-term employees whose knowledge and experience translate into excellent customer service. Job sharing. Employees may seek part-time work for many reasons, including the need to attend to childcare responsibilities or to care for an elderly or sick parent. By sharing the responsibilities of one job with an additional person, both parties can achieve the balance they need. Abbott Laboratories, a global healthcare company devoted to the discovery, development, and marketing of pharmaceuticals, uses programs such as job sharing to generate an extremely low turnover rate of 8%. DART. Job sharing is particularly important for new parents who often need to reduce the amount of time they work to take care of their children. By offering flexible work environments, Abbott has improved its productivity and ability to retain highly skilled workers. Telecommuting. Given the increased sophistication of technology, telecommuting is becoming a more feasible option for many employees, and more than 8 in 10 of Fortune's 100 best companies to work for allowed employees to telecommute for some portion of their job. 107 Through telecommuting, employees spend part of their time working off-site, at home, and use email and the internet to stay in contact with the organization. Telecommuting appeals to all generations. One study found that over 50% of college graduates had an interest in telecommuting. For some, this interest stemmed from their desire to reduce their carbon footprint. 108 It is no surprise that AT&T, one of America's oldest communications companies, is one of the biggest supporters of telecommuting. By 2013, 24% of its workforce telecommuted. A recent study of the impact of telecommuting on call center productivity was conducted on a Chinese travel agency. The productivity of the telecommuters was 12% higher than those working in the office.